Hi guys. So I am just making sure that this is working. Hi guys. My name is Sabrina and I work for Whale and Dolphin Conservation, and welcome to our first official Facebook Live video. Woo! Yeah! Woohoo! So I'm just going to wait a little bit to make sure that we're going to wait just a little bit so people can join us, give us some time, and then we will jump into some baleen. So, it's working! Yay! Awesome. So like I said, we're just going to wait a little bit, make sure, see if anyone else wants to join in, because I know some people, myself included, are not very on point when it comes to this kind of thing. Um, Again, for those that are joining, my name is Sabrina. I work for the Whale and Dolphin Conservation in the North American office. We're located in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and I get the joys of a completely empty office to myself, so I have access to our baleen. Yay, we have other people joining all the way from Canada. That's awesome. So, but yeah, I just wanted to take some time, talk to you guys about baleen, one of the coolest structures of all time. Just gonna see if some other people are going to join. So in the meantime, I don't know about you guys, but I have been sitting a lot this week and last week since I've been working from home. So let's stretch. Let's do some whale yoga. Okay, so humpback whales and other whales have really long flippers that are like their arms. So take your flippers and stretch to the side, to the other side. Whales breach, which means jump. So jump to the side, jump to the other side, and just get your blood flowing. It's always good to get up and stretch, especially during these times where we're going to be working a lot, maybe from home where some other people are. A lot of kids have been sitting down lately. So yeah, awesome. So I'm going to jump into it. I am talking here today talking about baleen. And also I want to apologize about the video. It's a little fuzzy. I had to either have really good audio or really good video. So I picked the audio so you can hear me. Anyway, so I wanted to provide some science enrichment, talk to you guys about baleen because it really is one of the coolest things when it comes to whales, because you can really see what it looks like. So there are two types of whales in the world. There are baleen whales and they are toothed whales. So baleen whales, as you can imagine, have the structure called baleen. Teeth whales, they have teeth, just like you and I do. So from there's many different species when it comes to the baleen whales or the toothed whales. But today we're only going to focus on those baleen whales. And there are actually 14 different species of baleen whales. And being here in Massachusetts, we have a lot of the videos that we do focus on, or the species that we do focus on, excuse me, hang out here in the Gulf of Maine. So for example, humpback whales are one of those. Now, this baleen, this is just a sample of it. It is made out of a protein called keratin. You may have heard of it before. And keratin, if you can imagine, if you take this baleen and you tap on it, it's kind of hard. It's not very bendy, it's pretty solid. And keratin is a protein that we actually have in our body as well. You guys working? Can you hear me? Yay, so many wonderful people from all over the world. Well, I hope my audio is working. Not sure if the audio is working or not. Yay for trying Facebook Live for the first time. But back to baleen. So this keratin is a protein that is found, and if you can imagine, if you take your fingernails and you tap on it, it's the same kind of a consistency as the baleen. So keratin can also be found in our fingernails and in our hair as well. Awesome, you guys can hear me. So this keratin is growing down from the top jaw of this whale's mouth. The baleen whales, sorry, I keep getting distracted by the comments. This is so fun, I love it. So these baleen whales have plates and plates of baleen that goes all along the top. Now I'm not sure if you guys can see, but this actually has about 3 different plates in it. Now these plates are really, really close together, close enough that the fish can't escape, but that the water can go out. And these plates grow down from the top jaw of the whale. So if you can imagine, like in that picture that I posted yesterday, with the whale's mouth open really, really wide, it has baleen growing down from the top jaw, but they have none on their bottom jaw. Now that's actually really important, and I'll get into it a little bit later, but humpback whales, like I talked about, those are the ones that we do a lot of research with. They have about 530 to 800 plates of baleen just in their top mouth, all really close together so that they all fit in there. And it grows from the top and then it splinters. Now I have a really, really cool piece of baleen here that I want to show you, but it's really old and it's can be broken easily. So I'm not going to hold it for very long. But you can see here that it has kind of like whiskers. So what do you guys think it looks like? I've heard it looks like a broom. I heard it looks like a mustache. All sorts of stuff. Now the really cool part is you can see really well here the different plates. So you can see that they're really, really close together, but then it has the bristly part in the back. Now this bristly part is really, really important, like I mentioned, because what it does is it catches the whale's food. Now, these whales, these baleen whales, are eating relatively small animals. Every species has a different specific food that they really like. Just like I really like cheesecake, but my friend might really prefer pie or something. These whales all have a specific food they love. So the Gulf of Maine humpback whales that we focus a lot on really, really enjoy this small schooling fish called sand lance. So this is just a little example of one. But as you can see, it's not very big. These sand lance are really only about the size of a hand and about the size of a pencil, really. So what they're doing is these little sand lance burr into the sand, and then these whales can, and there's tons of them. There's tons and tons of sand lance in the oceans. But these whales don't exactly eat just one at a time. As you can imagine, it wouldn't make very much sense for them to try and just swallow one of these whales, or excuse me, one of these fish at a time. So what they do is that they create something called a bubble net. You may have seen videos of this before, and it really is a really amazing thing to see. What these whales are doing is that they will go and dive underwater and then blow bubbles from the top of their head, or from their blowhole, which is located on the top of their head. So those bubbles will form as the whale circles around, those bubbles will follow. And those sand lance don't like bubbles. It scares them. So what they'll end up doing is they'll cause the sand lance to come together much closer. So from there, that whale just has to have an open mouth. It'll come through, take in that ball of all the sand lance that are bunched together, and then close up at the surface. That way, those whales are able to get thousands and thousands of fish just in one mouthful at a time, rather than just picking one after the other. Then, from there, that whale can't just swallow everything, because whales are mammals. Just like you and I, we are mammals. Dogs are mammals. Cats are mammals. Whales are also mammals too. And so, if they swallow that big mouthful of fish and salt water, they'll end up actually getting sick. They can't drink salt water. Remember, they're mammals. So, what these whales would do is they have that huge mouthful of fish and water, and they'll take their tongue and push it all back out. So the water goes back out through the baleen into the little spaces. Remember, I was talking about the plates are really, really close together. Well, the water can go through, but then the fish end up getting stuck in the bristly part. That way they can't escape, and then that whale just has to lick the inside of its mouth, swallow its fish, and it's good to go. Now these whales will end up eating 1 to 2 tons every single day. It's crazy how much fish they're eating. To put it in perspective, 1 ton is about 2,000 pounds of fish. That's crazy. And remember, the fish that they're eating is really not very big. They're eating little tiny fish. Again, this is just especially the Gulf of Maine humpback whales that I'm focusing on. Now, my question for you guys is, do you think you can be swallowed by a baleen whale? Maybe? Yes, no? Raise your hand if you're like, yeah, I think I could. Or raise your hand if you're like, no way, you can't be swallowed by a whale. Well, the answer is no, you really can't be swallowed by a baleen whale. And that's because a whale's throat is really only about the size of a frisbee. As you can imagine, you can't be swallowed by a whale. So these baleen whales, again, remember, are eating really small fish, and so they can just swallow their little tiny fish, and then they're good to go. Now we're going to get into one of my other favorite parts, because as you can imagine, these whales swallow the fish, it goes down into their digestive system, and then the coolest part happens. Now guys, I'm going to go full whale nerd on you. Do you guys think that whales go to the bathroom? Raise your hand if you're like, well, yeah, like they just grab that bathroom pass and then carry on to the bathroom. Or raise your hand if you're like, no way, Jose, whales don't go to the bathroom. You're crazy, Sabrina. Well, the answer is yes. Whales poop and whales pee. And it's a really, really important part of it. So like I said, I'm gonna go full whale nerd on you right now. The really cool thing is that these whales, they actually can't go to the bathroom when they're down really, really deep. If you've ever been swimming in a deep pool before, maybe you threw in a toy and you got to go swim down and you got to pick it up and stuff, and your ears start to hurt. Well, that's because of whale poop. The whales are actually, they physically can't get the poop out of their body because of that water pressure. So when they come up to the surface, they'll just poop at the ocean surface. Now, at our ocean surface, there's these things called phytoplankton. Phytoplankton is basically kind of like, it is water plants. Now, I hope most of you guys have been in a science class before, and you talked about plants. And these plants, I'm sorry, I was just playing around with the comments. So what do plants need to grow and thrive? They need sunlight. They get that sunlight from being at the ocean surface. They need water, which they live in, so that works out. And they also need nutrients to grow really big and strong. Now that nutrients comes in the form of whale poop. So it works out perfectly because those phytoplankton are getting the nutrients that they need to then create. I know you guys study this in class, or hopefully you're studying it now if you're in middle school or elementary school, or even if you need a refresher when you're older like myself. So they create oxygen. Now, our oceans are vast. They cover so much of our Earth. That means that it's a lot of phytoplankton. So the phytoplankton is actually creating over 50% of the oxygen that we breathe. Now, I want you guys to take 2 deep breaths. Ready? 1, 2. I know it's kind of a wild and crazy time right now, so hopefully those breaths can kind of calm you down. Like especially since you realize one of those breaths are because of trees, because they're super awesome and they create oxygen. The other breath is because of all that phytoplankton. Yes, those whales are ocean gardeners. They truly are the green whale to us, as they are such pretty much the backbone of sustaining and creating those fish stocks, the oxygen that we're breathing, all sorts of really, really cool stuff, simply by going to the bathroom. So, yes, guys, that was a little bit of my whale nerd lecture about whale poop. But as you can imagine, this baleen that I'm talking about helps to filter in that food that those whales need, especially as, again, they're eating 1 to 2 tons of food a day, 2,000 to 4,000 pounds. It's absolutely crazy. And really cool part is that there's, like I said, about 14 different species of baleen whales in the world. And so it all comes a little varied. Now, one of the smallest baleen whales in the world, the minke whale, which is not very big, about 20 to 30 feet, have baleen that's really, this is just a sample of it, as you can see. Now, this baleen, again, is curved and it's small. As you can imagine, these minke whales have baleen that can grow to about 1 foot, and they can have around 460 to 790 plates in their mouth. Now, compare that to the a species that we work on a lot here, and that is the North Atlantic right whale. So this is a critically endangered species that right now is actually in the Gulf of Maine as they make their way up from the south. Pretty much they'll be heading up to the Gulf of St. Lawrence in Canada. So this is what their baleen looks like. Theirs can get to around, you can kind of sort of see it in the video. So their baleen can be around 6.6 feet long, and they can have around 400 to 500 plates in their mouth. So these right whales again are very endangered, but this baleen can help when it comes to the science and research of this really endangered species, as some scientists can even look and figure out different hormone levels. They can see their age, all sorts of really cool stuff. Now you may be wondering, is that the biggest baleen? No, actually, the biggest baleen belongs to the bowhead whale, with its baleen measuring taller than me. So this is the species that is known for having the biggest baleen whale, or excuse me, biggest baleen. You can see it is quite thick. You can also make out that it has some really, really cool stuff when it comes to the bristling side of things. So this bowhead can grow baleen to around just shy of 15 feet long. That's wild! And they can also have around 460 to 720 plates in their mouth. So I'm going to put this down because baleen is very fragile. And again, this baleen can be really, really helpful when it comes to learning all sorts of stuff about whales. And it also has been helpful for decades, really for centuries. I'm sure you guys may have heard of it, but baleen is otherwise known as whalebone, and it was really, really useful when it comes to the whaling times. So, for example, do you guys know what they used baleen for? Or what do you think that baleen may be used for? Again, remember, it's really tough. It's really hard, and it's very normally straight. As this baleen dried, it tended to curve, so normally it's very straight. It's not all curved like this. Well, baleen was used for ladies' corsets, kept the corset. They used it for buggy whips, they used it for lamps, all sorts of really, really cool stuff. And again, this was during the whaling times where they would kill the whales for oil, but then they would use pretty much all different parts of the whale because you can find uses for a lot of cool stuff. So I just wanted to end it on that note, saying that if you go to a New Bedford Whaling Museum or a lot of the really cool museums that have old skeletons of bones, you may be able to see some examples of baleen and what they use the baleen for. Otherwise, you should get on a whale watch in much cleaner and much safer and much healthier times, because you may be able to even see the baleen of whales as they are feeding. The Gulf of Maine has been really well known for feeding humpbacks as they come up, they close in on that fish. So we hope you guys can take this message on, teach all of your super cool friends. Hopefully this was a little bit of fun science enrichment for kids who I know are kind of stuck at home. This really is a bit of a bummer time. So thank you so much to the people that joined. I hope that was interesting. And if you guys are interested in the future, we are looking to potentially do more of these, hopefully with better visual and better audio that works for the first time for further times. Otherwise, Monica will be joining in on Wednesday as she talks about photo identification about whales. A really, really cool part when it comes to the science of studying whales and then influencing later policy decisions, something that WDC does a lot of. Now, we also have, we'll be launching a webpage today where it has a download of a lot of different a lot of different activities for kids. So we'll have word searches, there's a crossword puzzle, there's also a pretty good math worksheet that you can figure out different um, all sorts of different worksheet problems about math. I kind of butchered that. And also some really great coloring pages um, from a wonderful artist that luckily is letting us use the downloads. So all of this is free, and it also has a shout out section with a lot of the organizations that we work with. So these are New Bedford Whaling Museum, Orca Lab, um, again, some really great organizations that I have a full list of downloads that you can figure out. There's marine biology whale camps, there's virtual tours, all sorts of stuff. So we'll be posting about it a little later this afternoon, but I do want to give you guys some time to answer questions, um, especially if we have any kids that are really interested in whales and have some really good questions. I would love to hear them. So feel free to comment at this time. Otherwise, you are always welcome. Where are you? So we are located, sorry, I probably should introduce myself, especially since people are just jumping on again. My name is Sabrina. I am the Program Associate for the Whale and Dolphin Conservation in our North American office, which is located in Plymouth, Massachusetts. So yeah, we have multiple offices in different locations. So this is our North American office. But we do, like I said, we have an inflatable right whale named Delilah, and we are also encouraging any kids, if they have any really good questions, and our phone is ringing, somebody's calling, oh no. So if any kids have some really good whale questions that they would like answered, we're encouraging them to send them in to us. We can have Delilah answer back, or if they just want to draw some really awesome pictures of whales, then feel free to do that as well. We can be reached at our email is contact@whales, WHALES.org, or you can actually mail them as well. So that'll be in a post later that you can check out. But again, thank you so much for joining us, guys. Sorry for my awkwardness and my first attempt at a Facebook Live video. I hope you guys had fun, and if you have any other questions, I'll hang around for a few minutes or so as you guys continue to hear this wonderful ringtone of our phone. Um, but you can always email us if you have any questions as well. We can use it here in Florida. We love Florida. We are actually in Florida last November for the North Atlantic Right Whale Festival. It was really, really fun. Awesome. Well, have a great day, guys. Stay safe and stay healthy and stay indoors. Bye.